Childhood should be all play with few worries, but more and more kids as young as 6 are racked with anxiety. They can't sleep. Some refuse to go to school. As a parent, it's tricky. How do you tell a bad day from a serious problem? And finding help is almost impossible.
A clever and upbeat 12-year-old boy. Dylan Harris knew something wasn't right when he couldn't get to sleep.
I was just worrying a bit too much about what's going to happen the next day or how it's going to be in like 30 years.
Now, breathe in for 3 counts as you turn your right
Dylan
hand
soon realised he's not alone. The number of Australian children living with anxiety, aged between 6 and 12 years old, has risen by 45% in just 2 years.
It turns out there's like loads of other kids that are having trouble sleeping or having trouble with their everyday lives. So I thought, it's not just me, it's like lots of other people too. Yeah.
COVID is still playing on the minds of young children. Homeschooling and lockdowns is something they will probably never forget.
It kind of broke the social side of everybody because we're all at home not knowing what to do.
And teachers are facing the cost of that isolation in classrooms across Australia.
Sometimes in class it's hard to focus because of like stuff that's happening. I think mental health is something that kids need to recognise more because some kids struggle with their mental health.
It's hugely concerning and kids come to school with all sorts of baggage.
The family were on a camping trip.
Dylan's mum Kath is a teacher and says nurturing the well-being of her students has never been more important.
I think as adults we're armed with information and can say, oh right, well this is why I'm feeling anxious, this is why this is happening. But for a child, they're still trying to understand their own emotions.
Is there enough support around you?
I know the wellbeing officer in our school is inundated with children that need to see her. So there is support, but there's not enough.
Anne Hollins is the National Children's Commissioner. She says the needs of children were neglected during COVID.
There was an assumption made that that children would be okay. But I think now we're seeing, post-COVID, some very serious mental health issues for children and learning gaps as a result of those very extended school closures.
A Senate inquiry found post-COVID an alarming number of kids are refusing to go to school. Only half of students are attending more than 90% of the time. It's even got a name, school refusal. And Anne believes that in itself should be enough for youngsters to be a national priority for the government. Why do you think children have been missed when it comes to policy in this country?
Children really, I think culturally in this country are seen as the responsibility of their parents. And so, you know, all of policy is focused on issues affecting adults.
Every day.
And then perhaps this more heartbreaking reason.
There's no votes in children. So, you know, governments are aware that children's policy issues are not going to win or lose elections for them.
Jimmy's mum, Cindy, says she's always been concerned about her son's mental health.
He had an absent seizure where he was out cold for about 40 minutes, completely like eyes rolled back in his head, dead. We thought he'd died.
Ever since being medicated for ADHD, the 9-year-old has suffered anxiety and depression.
Oh, getting yelled at. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Cindy says it's tough on the whole family.
Then if we've been working all day as parents, you know, we're kind of stressed out as well, so we're not as responsive as we should be. We're probably not as nice as we should be.
She says getting mental health treatment for primary school-aged children is almost impossible.
There's no support for primary school-aged kids. Primary school-aged kids just get really forgotten about.
For kids aged between 6 and 12 years old, ADHD has increased by 42%. Peer relationship difficulties has risen by 39%. Problematic screen use is up 36%, while educational and learning concerns has seen a 35% rise.
We've lulled ourselves into a false sense of a false belief that children don't experience mental health challenges, and they do. The stats are telling us now that children are really experiencing significant challenges.
Dr Addie Wooten is CEO of Smiling Mind and is calling for a Minister for Children.
We're really calling on the government to consider how children can be represented at a federal level, ideally at a cabinet level, so that we have cross-portfolio voice, I suppose. Who is advocating for children in the health space, in the education space, in the mental health space?
A problem that will only get worse if left untreated.
By the age of 14, 50% of adult mental health issues are already evident. Now, they don't just pop up when the child turns 14. They've been developing all through those younger years.
Whether it's meditation or just kicking the footy, these precious boys know by simply voicing how they feel, they're helping others.
So they can be better when they're older and not feel depressed and just feel like they're actually there, not just getting yelled at all the time. We need to take action. We need to believe that this can really make a change in kids' lives. Because if I have the right mindset, then I know that I can do almost anything.
What sweet boys, and the problem, in their own words there,